Assalamu alaikum. I am Waqas Malik and this is my YouTube channel Waqas Malik Official. And today I will discuss about a very interesting and fundamental topic of grammar, that is conditional sentences. This topic is directly related to if construction, and when we talk about the condition, then we can say that we talk about the if construction in sentences. This is a very important topic regarding English grammar. Okay. Conditional sentences in grammar. It is very fundamental topic regarding English grammar. That is the topic which I will discuss about the construction of grammar categorically. Okay. This is my YouTube channel Waqas Malik Official, and that is the topic conditional sentences in English grammar. And today is my first lecture regarding this topic. Okay. Conditional sentences. Let's we start the discussion regarding this topic. Okay. Conditional sentences. First of all, I will discuss about the structure of conditional sentences in English grammar. A conditional sentence is composed of two parts. First of all, keep in mind the first thing. A conditional sentence is composed of two parts. The first part is if clause plus the second part is main clause. That is the construction of conditional sentences and structure as well in English grammar. Okay, we have an example regarding the structure of conditional sentence. Okay, you can see the sentence, if it rains tomorrow, we will not come. The first part is if clause and the second part is the main clause. So we can say that if clause plus main clause is the construction and structure of a conditional sentence. First of all, keep in your mind if clause plus main clause. If it rains tomorrow, if clause we will not come, that is the main clause, and this structure fulfills the whole construction of a conditional sentence. And I have already discussed when we talk about the condition, so keep in mind the first thing, we talk about the if construction. Okay, that is the structure of a conditional sentence and sentences. Okay. Conditional sentences. Conditional sentences are mandatory in English grammar. The order of the two clauses is flexible. We can write any clause first. The order of the two clauses is flexible and we can write any clause first. But if the if clause comes first, it must be followed by a comma. Comma is mandatory in if clause structure, but if the if clause comes first, it must be followed by a comma. We have an example of this rule. The first example is if it rains, comma, I will stay at home. And according to our statement, but if the if clause comes first, it must be followed by a comma. So if it rains, comma, I will stay at home. Okay, the second example is I will stay at home if it rains. And the second example is in reverse order. You can say that, and we do not use the comma in this reverse order and after the clause, after the if clause. And according to our statement, but if the if clause comes first, it must be followed by a comma. Okay. There are four types of conditional sentences that are very mandatory types in English grammar. They are classified according to the degree of probability that they express. You can say that these types are classified according to the degree of probability that they express. Keep in your mind the four basic types of conditional sentences in English grammar. Okay. Each type of conditional sentences uses different tenses to show the difference in the degree of probability. That is very important line. Each type of conditional sentences uses different tenses. The word different tenses is mandatory to show the difference in the degree of probability as well. And you can see the construction and description of conditional sentences according to their rules in English grammar, and probability and tenses are mandatory in the construction of conditional sentences. And you can see in Zoom conditional sentences are very mandatory and must listen and read these slides. Okay. Types of conditional sentences. There are four major types which I have already discussed in my previous slide. And here the names of these four types. The first one is the zero conditional. And the second one is the first conditional. And the third one is the second conditional. And the fourth, the third conditional. And you can see these four types, but in today's lecture I will only discuss about the first two types, the zero conditional and the first conditional. And these are the types of conditional sentences, and these types are mandatory in English grammar. And I will sum up these four types in my first two lectures, and today is my first lecture. And in my first lecture I will discuss about the first two types. Okay. First of all, I will discuss about the zero conditionals. And here in brackets, universal truths and habits. You can say that zero conditionals are used in universal truths and habits in sentences, in grammatically sentences. Okay. First of all, I will discuss about the tense construction in zero conditional. Okay. Tense, present tense in both clauses. Keep in your mind. And we have an example regarding zero conditional. Present tense, present tense. Present tense in both clauses. And the examples of sentences: if you heat water to 100 degrees C, it boils. The first clause is a present tense and the second clause is in also present tense as well, and fulfill the construction of zero conditional and universal truths and habits. And here is, this is a universal truth: if you heat water to 100 degrees C, it boils. That is universal truth. Okay, the second example is, if you pour oil into water, it floats. It's also a universal truth, and the first clause is in present tense and second clause is also in present tense. That is also fulfill the construction of zero conditional. You can see categorically in this slide zero conditional construction, the construction of zero conditional sentences according to their tense. Present tense is mandatory in this type. Okay. Zero conditionals and its use. Okay. First of all, we use zero conditional sentences to talk about universal truth, as I have discussed about in my previous slide. Talk about universal truth firstly, and second, and the example of universal truth: if you heat ice, it turns to water. That is universal truth. To talk about habits, like if I see a spider, I get very scared. That is a habitual sentence and fulfill the construction of zero conditional. If I see a spider, I get very scared. So then the first talk about universal truth and the second one is to talk about habits. That is the whole story and whole construction of zero conditional in English grammar. You can see categorically zero conditional sentences and its usages in sentences. Okay. And the second type of conditional sentences is the first conditional. The word probable is mandatory in first conditional. Okay. First of all, I will discuss about the tense. If clause, present tense, main clause, future tense. If clause, present tense, main clause, future tense. Present tense, future tense. and we have some example regarding this rule. If clause present tense, main clause is in future tense. You can see, if I feel sick tomorrow, I will take leave from school. The first part of the if clause is in present tense and the second in future tense. And the second example is, if it rains, we will not play the match. And the third one is, if you come, will you cooperate with me? And the last example is, if you do not favor me, will I not leave for my destination? And you can see the if clauses is in present tense, and the second part of the main clause, you can say, is in future tense. The main clauses is in future tense, and that is the whole construction of first conditional probable. You can see in Zoom. You can see in Zoom. Okay. That is the whole construction and tense of first conditionals probable. First conditional probable and its use. To make promises or warnings, we use the first conditional to make promises or warnings. Here is a sentence: if you forget my birthday, I will never speak to you again. That is warning and a promise as well in this example, to make promises or warnings. And if you forget my birthday, I will never speak to you is a very suitable example of warning in first conditional probable, to make promises or warnings. To give commands. If you are tired, go to bed. Here is the construction is directly related to command. Note, that is a very important note regarding first conditional sentences, and keep in your mind and must read when you listen this lecture. Note, the verb in the main clause is in imperative structure, and you can see the second example, to give commands. If you are tired, go to bed, and main clause is go to bed, and the verb go is in imperative structure. And you can see also the first example, the main clause, I will never speak to you again. If you forget my birthday, I will never speak to you again. And the main clause is, I will never speak to you again. And that is in the verb in this clause is in imperative structure. I will never speak to you. That is the whole construction of first conditional according to their use. You can see categorically in this slide. Okay. First conditional probable. Other connectors. And in other connectors, I will discuss firstly the type 1, until and unless. Okay. If you don't call John, he will get very angry. The first example. I will discuss about the until and unless, which is directly related to negativity. These words have negative expression, and we use these words and subordinate clauses, and we use these words in subordinate clauses especially, and these words are directly related to negativity and not structure. Okay, we have two examples according to the type number 1. If you don't call John, he will get very angry in first sentence, and the second sentence, until unless you call John, he will get very angry. In the second sentence, you can see that we do not use the word not or don't, because the words until and unless are used in negativity, in negative expressions, and they have a not structure in its own. So we can say that until and unless are used for not, and until or unless you call John, he will get very angry. And we do not use the word don't after until and unless. That is the type number 1. Okay. Until unless can replace if. In negative conditionals, we can replace the words until or unless if in negative conditionals in English grammar. That is also very important rule and type of first conditional probable in grammatical construction, until and unless. And keep in mind the first thing, until and unless can replace if in negative conditionals, and these words are used in negative sentences and negativity because they have own negative expressions in English grammar. Okay, you can see categorically until unless can replace if in negative conditionals. That is the whole story of first conditional probable. Okay. And this is my today's lecture regarding conditional sentences, and today is my first lecture regarding conditional sentences, and I have discussed about the first two types of conditional sentences, that are zero conditional and first conditional categorically. And today is my first lecture, and I will sum up this topic in my first two lectures. This topic is very important regarding English grammar. Must listen this topic and keep listening for my upcoming lecture. Subscribe my channel. If you like this video, please subscribe my YouTube channel for my upcoming lectures. And this lecture is also mandatory in intermediate, graduation and master's level, and must listen this lecture for your future understanding, because grammar is the backbone of English grammar. Okay, for my next lecture, Allah Hafiz from my side. Thank you and good luck and take care. Okay.